Back in May, the president announced a tariff that I thought was quite puzzling, one that just didn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, there were a lot of tariffs that perhaps didn't make a whole lot of sense, but this one was on movies. It turned out at that point in time that that tariff did not actually go through. But now it is September. September 29th is when I'm doing this video, and he has announced that tariff again, and it is a 100% tariff on movies that are not produced in the United States. What is going on here? Because this would be the first tariff that is not on a good, an item. This would be a service. What could this mean for the entire U.S. economy? What could it mean for movies? What could it mean for your pockets? Because we're moving into the holiday season where the good movies come out. And what does that mean for all of us in the stock market in general? Let's go ahead and break it down. It's a lot going on here. The first one is this. This is a mirror to what happened in May, or could be a mirror to what happened in May, in that it could be what some people call the taco trade, in that Trump always chickens out. I didn't call it that. That's not my term. That's what the people on the internet say, okay? I don't know if it's going to go through. And I don't know if it's going to go through for two reasons. The first one being, I don't know how feasible this is. For several reasons, and I also don't know if it makes sense, but for several reasons, movies are produced in several places for practical reasons. One being, I just need to be in a different location. Maybe I need a volcano for a setting for something. Maybe my character needs to be in London. Maybe my character is from London for what, it's stuff like that. Just like some places like, California is a hub for movies for obvious reasons. It's Georgia, North Carolina. You go to different places in different locales. Spy movies do this all the time. How is that tariff going to be implemented? There are some cases where you would shoot a movie, do all that stuff in the States, and then have someone in New Zealand, for example, do the graphic effects, right? The VFX or something like that. How is that going to be tariffed? There are just so many components and moving pieces to a movie, it just doesn't really make sense. So that's the first part that I'm just not sure how that would work. The other part is the United States, is still the largest producer or exporter, rather, it's the proper term here, of movies. Now, I haven't been the biggest fan of tariffs because I don't know if you've been to a grocery store, I don't know if you've been to any store, but as I have been saying, and most people logically have been saying, prices are going to go up. And they have. They have across the board. Okay, that's a fact. And a lot of that is due to tariffs. Now, with these prices going up, if you are to slap a 100% tariff on movies, that's raising production budgets, it's going to raise editing and all that kind of stuff and cost for labor, that is going to trickle down to the movie ticket. Last I checked, I'm gonna be honest with you, my kids ain't seen the inside of a movie theater in quite a while. Maybe once a year, because it is that expensive. So, me and my wife will go, and we'll go every now and then. We're gonna go at some point this week to see a movie. But I don't know if the four of us have ever all gone to the theater at the same time. Look, I be saving, I be investing. I don't know if I'm gonna ever take all of us to see any movie at the same time. It would have to be like dead middle of the day. That is how expensive. I'm just not trying to drop $150 to go see a movie, and the kids are gonna ask for popcorn and all that. That is how expensive it is. Imagine adding an additional 20, 30, 40% on top of that. You're saying, well, it's 100% tariff, yes, but it doesn't always translate to 100% cost on top of that one ticket. Some companies are going to eat a portion of that. We'll see. So it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And people, these are one of the tariff areas that you see. You absolutely see. When people think about what is going on with the economy, you see gas prices, you see things that are in the grocery store, you see and know exactly how much things are at the movie theater. These typically don't go well politically, so I'm just interested to see how that is going to play out. Now, what does this mean for the stock market and the economy as a whole? And this part gets really interesting. Now, my attention focuses really on Netflix because Disney is going through its own thing. Disney, ABC, Jimmy Kimmel, all that kind of stuff is just its own thing. Okay, we'll keep that over there. But as of today, I'm recording this on 29th of September, Netflix is still up 35%. Now it's down today. I think it was before I hit record, it was down 0.84%, which, you know, not all that bad given the context of where it is. And I think it is still a relatively good stock. I haven't talked about it too much, but, you know, I still hold it. And if you are still holding Netflix, I'm fine with doing that. And then come December, which is just a few months away, I will reevaluate and see how I feel about it at that point in time, tariffs or no tariffs. So in either case, I am still a holder of Netflix, but I think as of today, and even yesterday for that matter too, there may be some other stocks that are a bit better than where Netflix is, but it is still a hold stock for me, and it's still, you know, pretty solid at this point in time. More importantly though, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the very beginning, this tariff will be the first time that we have a tariff on a service as opposed to a physical product, a good, as you would hear in the, you know, in an economic textbook. If this were to go through and it weren't challenged in a court, what else does this open the door to? Does it open the door to a Google or Microsoft or something of that nature? Now, in my mind, that would be a no, because that does not make sense. Would you charge via Google searches that are happening overseas, or, you know, consulting or something? You're going over there and you're working on ideas and come up with slide decks and stuff. In my mind, that doesn't make sense. But if you asked me 4, 5, 6 months ago, does it make sense to tariff a movie? I also would have said that doesn't make sense either. Yet here we are. So I'm very curious to see where this goes, and if this goes through, and that's a big if, where could this put us as a new place for tariffs to be concerned about, and what does it mean for when we try to look for tariff-proof stocks or tariff-resistant stocks moving forward? That right there is going to be extremely important, and that's the space that you want to circle moving forward, especially as we move towards the end of the year and we need to prepare for that exact scenario should this be something that even goes through, because we know what happened back in May. Here is one thing that you can somewhat sidestep this with: international stocks. Okay, that is a part of the solution here. However, not everybody knows where to look for international stocks and international funds. If you want to know where they are and what the best funds are for some of that international exposure and adding that to your portfolio, then you want to check out this video right here.